Hi, I'm Taylor and I'm from the USA.
Hello, I'm Karina from England. Nice to meet you.
Hello, I'm Sarah from Australia.
So I had a South African coworker about 4 years ago, and I believe in South Africa they speak the British style of English. So we would always talk in and outside of work, and she would use some words I was not too familiar with, and I would have to ask her, oh, do you mean this? So for example, she would use the word keen. And that's something you don't really hear in the American English language. So I had to kind of ask her, hey, what do you mean when you say, oh, I'm keen to do something?
For example, I remember I was dating an American. I said I am peckish, but he didn't know what I meant. I said I'm peckish. And in England, being peckish means you're a little bit hungry. I suppose it means because a bird pecking food, tiny little bit, so I'm a little bit hungry, but he was like, what?
There was one a friend of mine from London used, and he said the word peng. And I found out that peng, like if you're referring to a girl, oh, she's so peng, it means like, oh, she's gorgeous, she's really good looking. And that one surprised me because I literally had no idea what peng meant. Usually you can kind of gather it from the context, but that British slang, I had no idea. Peng. I just kept thinking of Pengu, the cartoon penguin. Did you know that even native English speakers can get confused with English words from other countries? Let's find out a bit more about that in today's video.
French fries.
Chips, basically I think because you chip off a potato, so we call it chips.
Chips, or sometimes hot chips.
Candy.
We would call it sweets.
Lollies. Yeah, we call those ones lollies, like the hard ones. I know Americans call them candy, but we say lollies.
Cotton candy.
Candy floss.
Fairy floss. I think it's because, like, if you think of like floss that a fairy would use, it's like very fine. That might be why.
If you use it in the US, candy floss, you don't hear a lot because when we think of floss, we think of like flossing your teeth or the, the dance. So yeah, if someone were to say candy floss, I think people would be really confused in the US.
Trousers.
Pants.
Pants.
Pants means underwear in England. In the old days, they used to say, who wears the trousers in the house? And they mean who is the man of the house, like who makes the rules. Because in the old days, only men wore trousers. But yeah, trousers, I prefer that word.
Bathroom.
Toilet and loo. Honestly, there's no difference. It's just loo is a strictly British term.
Bathroom, toilet. If you wanted to go really slang dunny, is another word, but no one uses that in this context. This looks fancy, so that's as a toilet.
Cookies.
Biscuits, in my personal perspective, I would say that the chocolate chip ones, I would refer to them as cookies specifically. Everything else is a biscuit, so.
Biscuits. I know in America they might call those cookies, but because biscuit in America is like what we would kind of call a scone, I guess.
Movie theater. Yeah, we say going to the movies also. I would say movies is probably the most common. Movie theater is the name of the actual place, but movies is easier to say. So we just say, oh, let's go to the movies tomorrow.
I would say the cinema. Theatre, not so much. I feel like maybe it's a little old to say the theatre. Theatre would again be a stage when you're going to see a play. Yeah, cinema.
Movies? You'd say like, I'm going to the movies?
Sweater.
Jumper. Some people would say sweater, but it sounds a bit American. So usually jumper. Everything knitted like this is a jumper. I don't know why. Nobody jumps.
Maybe a jumper actually. I think I would call this more a jumper almost.
I think if you were to say jumper in the US, people would think of a different clothing item. So when I was growing up, jumper meant a type of clothing. If you are familiar with overalls, which have straps and they're kind of one piece of clothing and they're usually pants. Think of overalls, but with a skirt instead of pants. And we would call that a jumper. And those were usually worn by young girls. So if I were to hear jumper not used in that sense, I wouldn't think sweater.
Duvet.
Comforter.
Comforter? Sounds like a therapist or something. Let me give you a hug. No, it's a duvet.
Doona. I'd call that a doona.
Trash. I'm not sure what they call it in other countries, but we also say garbage in the US, so I'm not sure if that's used in other countries or not. But yeah, trash and garbage is what we would call that in the US.
That is rubbish. There are 3 terms for rubbish in global English. We have rubbish, which is British, and we have trash and garbage. I think in Australia they maybe say garbage.
Rubbish or garbage.
Sidewalk.
Pavement?
When we say pavement, it's the material maybe they use.
Footpath. Yeah, I would say footpath because obviously it's a path for your feet, but also if someone said sidewalk, I would understand that too.
Car park?
Parking lot.
Oh yeah, parking lot. Doesn't make sense, but car park. Simple, right?
Car park.
Fringe. That's very cute, fringe.
Bangs.
Yeah, in America they say bangs. So yeah, we say fringe, like, you know, like I said, the fringe of a curtain, the tassel part, fringe. Makes sense. Bangs don't make any sense.
Fringe. So yeah, that, when it's all across, I would call that a fringe. I know Americans call them bangs, but when I was a kid, I always thought bangs were like 2 pieces of hair that like came down the side, because when you say bangs, it sounds like there's like 2 or something for some reason. But yeah, I found out Americans call that bangs, which seems really weird to me. But yeah, we call it a fringe.
Which is a type of bang you can get, but it's not bangs as a whole. We also use fringe to describe maybe a part of a rug or a carpet. It has like a fringe outer border or something. So if someone were to call bangs fringe, that would be definitely a little confusing in American English. I think it's so interesting learning about words people use in different forms of English, especially in the UK and Australia, because one word may mean something completely different, you know, in another country for English. And it's really important to know, especially if you're traveling to those countries.
I always love hearing about the other slangs or the other words that are used in different English-speaking countries, because I always think it's interesting. Sometimes they can be quite similar, or other times they can be just completely different words. I feel like in this case, a lot of them I'd heard before, just because again, we see so much American and British media, but I still find it really interesting and really fun.
Well, that was fun. It was very fun. Felt like a game show. A lot of the words I did know, some of the words I didn't. For example, the duvet is called a comforter. It doesn't really make much sense to me unless you're a toddler, like you're a little kid, little child. That's interesting to know if I ever go to America, which I haven't had the opportunity yet. And if I need to buy a duvet, I'll remember not to say duvet, and I'll be able to buy my comforter.
So if you're interested in learning more words from different countries like the US, like the UK and Australia, you should check out the Cake app, because you will learn all those different forms of English and vocabulary you can use for those English languages.
Download.